Hello everybody, it's Vertical Sandwich. Welcome back to Book Reviews. So, today we're going to be talking about, we're going to start 4 videos, maybe 5 actually in a row, where we talk about this, right? So this is the Earthsea cycle by Ursula K Le Guin. So, legendary science fiction author, and this is a fantasy series that she decided to, I'll read the back of the collection. The first 4 books of the legendary Earthsea saga: A Wizard of Earthsea, The Tombs of Atuan, The Farthest Shore, and Tahanu. As a young dragon lord, Ged, also known as Sparrowhawk, is sent to the island of Roke to learn the true way of magic. A natural magician, Ged becomes an archmage and helps the high priestess Tenar escape from the labyrinth of darkness. But as the years pass, true magic and ancient ways are forced to submit to the powers of evil and death. So, my little bit of research about this, it says that this was Ursula Le Guin's publisher kind of was pressing her to write a fantasy series for children. And here's the thing about that. I know it sounds like the first thing you hear is, oh, guy goes to wizard school. Like, haven't we heard that before? First off, these were written in the 70s, the first 3 books. So take your comparison. And but there is really no comparison whatsoever, because the first thing I thought was, oh, did Harry Potter take a page from this? And the answer is absolutely not. They have nothing in common, like nothing at all, aside from a very brief outline for the first book of kind of the plot line. Not even similar. They go completely different directions. They have nothing to do with one another. The second thing is, these are not children's literature. Like, they're very easy reads. They're very quick books. But the subject matter is very dark. It's very, and Ursula Le Guin is not an author that you take lightly in whatever she does. So you don't think like, oh, you know, just here's the thing. So we're going to talk about the first book today, A Wizard of Earthsea. And a general outline is kind of this. There's a kid, he's growing up, and he's not very, he's the kid of the blacksmith, and he's a scrawny little kid, right? And then one day, he kind of sees a witch call a goat, right? And he just goes, so he memorizes the call, and he starts using it, and goats start trampling him and stuff. And then the witch finds out that he has this kind of natural ability for magic. Now, the world of Earthsea is a world where magic is practiced. There's kind of women become witches and healers, and men become wizards and mages. And everybody at the time of their entering adulthood gets a true name that they keep to themselves. And as far as magic goes, if you know somebody's true name, you have an entrance into kind of control over them. So it's not a thing you share with somebody lightly. You would tell it to your dearest friends and your closest family, but it's not a thing that you would, it's not a thing that you would just tell some stranger, or that you would tell kind of, anybody out there. And so Ged is the main character in the first book. That's his true name. Everybody calls him Sparrowhawk. So people have a use name. So the name that is referred to by other people, so people have names that are harmless because they're not the real names. They're just the name that everybody calls them in the city street and stuff. So let's read an excerpt, because that's a thing we do. So this is chapter 2, The Shadow, and if you see me dripping sweat, it's because it's humid out here. It's gross. Ged had thought that as the apprentice of a great mage, so this is what happens. So he works with the witch for a while, and then she sends him to this mage. It's a local mage. Ogion, I think is his name. Ged had thought as the apprentice of a great mage, he would enter at once into the mystery and mastery of power. He would understand the language of the beast and the speech of the leaves of the forest, he thought, and sway the winds with his word, and learn to change himself into any shape he wished. Maybe he and his master would run together as stags, or fly to Re Albi over the mountains on the wings of eagles. But it was not so at all. They wandered, first down into the vale, and then gradually south and westward around the mountain, given lodging in little villages, or spending the night out in the wilderness, like poor journeyman sorcerers, or tinkers, or beggars. They entered no mysterious domain. Nothing happened. The mage's oaken staff that Ged had watched at first with eager dread was nothing but a stout staff to walk with. 3 days went by, and 4 days went by, and still Ogian had not spoken a single charm in Ged's hearing, and had not taught him a single name, or rune, or spell. Though a very silent man, he was so mild and calm that Ged soon lost his awe of him, and in a day or two more he was bold enough to ask his master, "When will my apprenticeship begin, sir?" "It has begun," said Ogian. There was a silence, as if Ged was keeping back something he had to say. Then he said it. "But I haven't learned anything yet." "Because you haven't found out what I am teaching," replied the mage, going on at his steady, long-legged pace along their road, which was the high pass between Ovark and Wiss. He was a dark man, like most Gantishmen, dark copper-brown, gray-haired, lean, and tough as a hound, tireless. He spoke seldom, ate little, slept less. His eyes and ears were very keen, and often there was a listening look on his face. Ged did not answer him. It was not always easy to answer a mage. "You want to work spells," Ogian said presently, striding along. "You've drawn too much water from that well. Wait. Manhood is patience. Mastery is 9 times patience. What is that herb by the path?" "Strawflower." "And that? I don't know." "Forefoil, they call it." Ogian had halted, the copper-shod foot of his staff near the little weed. So Ged looked closely at the plant, and plucked a dry seed pod from it, and finally asked, since Ogian said nothing more, "What is its use, master?" "None I know of." Ged kept the seed pod a while as they went on, then tossed it away. "When you know the forefoil in all its seasons, root and leaf and flower, by sight and scent and seed, then you may learn its true name, knowing its being. What is more than its use? Which is more than its use? What, after all, is the use of you, or of myself? Is Gaunt Mountain useful, or the open sea?" Ogian went on a half-mile or so, and said at last, "To hear, one must be silent." The boy frowned. He did not like to be made to feel a fool. Now, so there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of, the first book of the Earthsea cycle is a coming-of-age story about Ged. And the reason I bring that up is because you think the Earthsea cycle, here's the thing that Ursula Le Guin did that shocked me. Because the first book of the Earthsea cycle I thought was alright. That's what I'm going to say about it. By the way, I just realized why the shirt is so, it's because the extra battery and stuff is in there. And I have to use a fingernail clipper, not a fingernail, a tweezer, to, get the battery out of the camera because his camera is a piece of garbage. The thing about the Earthsea cycle that Ursula Le Guin did that really took me by surprise is that the first book is about Ged and focused on Ged and follows Ged through kind of his coming of age to becoming a man, and then no other book is. You really just think we're setting this guy up to be this hero of this story. No, we're introducing a character. The second book will introduce a different character. The third book will introduce a third character. And the fourth book will introduce a fourth character. And those characters obviously are part of one another's lives in ways that are interesting and strange. And that's kind of what makes the Earthsea cycle amazing, is that they aren't Ged books. The first book is a Ged book, but kind of everything else, nothing else is about Sparrowhawk except for the fact that, he continues to be a main character, but he doesn't he isn't the overarching narrator of a series of books. This isn't the Vorkasigan saga or whatever, where it's all about Miles all the time. It's not. It's a story about like I said, the first story introduces Ged. And I'm going to give you kind of like an overview of the plot line. So basically what happens is that this is all about Ged's kind of impatience, and he ends up unleashing an evil upon the world that then becomes this thing that haunts his dreams, right? So that as a young man, he is haunted by this thing that he knows that he has pulled out of some kind of dark dimension, to take a line from, or to take an idea from Terry Pratchett. And he feels it as his responsibility. This thing hunts him everywhere he goes. And it becomes this huge issue in the book, that he's this man who is terrified of this thing that he has done. And he, there is no way, it is not his man, he is not its equal. Like, it clearly outmatches him several times in his life. And so he just, and the terror of it is he knows that if this thing defeats him, it will enter into him and possess him. And then he'll be a mage that is possessed by the dark. And he'll do far more damage than he's already done. So that is the struggle in the first book. And Ursula Le Guin is amazing, right? Like, she does this amazingly. The resolution is amazing. Like, the setup for the second book. Well, there is no setup for the second book. The first book is a standalone book. And that's another wonderful thing about the Earthsea cycle, is you can read the first book, but you could skip it if you wanted. You could start at the second book and it would work. Or you could start at the third book and it would work. Or you could start at the fourth book and it would work for you. So, those things being said, when we come back, we will be talking about the Tombs of Atuan, the second book in the Earthsea cycle. And I will see you guys for that. Oh, by the way, I should say, before I do that, before I sign off, I should say this book is, the first book is 220 pages. It's a quick read. I read every one of these books. I read all 4 of these books. It's like 890 pages or something, in less than a week. It was about two days per book. Like, we'll give it that. But they become impossible to put down. They're super quick reads. They're a lot of fun. They're really well done. Great books. I love them. So you're going to get positive reviews of the next couple books. Yeah, like, so when we come back, the second book of Earthsea. Bye, everybody.